They tried to ruin my career, without knowing I was the one paying their salaries. Stick around, because what started as a betrayal turned into the perfect comeback. And if you like stories about quiet payback and big success, keep reading. Money can't buy happiness, but it sure can help with revenge, especially when your toxic family doesn't know you're secretly worth $500 million. I learned that just last month, when my own parents and younger brother tried to take me down. They didn't realize they were going after the owner of the company. I'm Melissa Tran, but most people in business call me Mel. Officially, I'm the new Chief Strategy Officer at Dynamics, a biotech company in Seattle. What my family doesn't know is that 2 months ago, I became the company's majority owner. I did it quietly, buying shares through a private trust without anyone knowing. My journey started 18 years ago, when I was a shy student on a scholarship at Georgia Tech, studying biomedical engineering. My brother Ryan, on the other hand, had everything handed to him and went to Stanford, with our parents paying for everything. Ryan needs support, Mom would always say. You've always been so independent, Mel. But independent didn't even come close. I worked in labs, tutored other students, and took side jobs coding just to get by. Meanwhile, Ryan was partying across Europe and posting about wine tastings and yacht trips. I stayed patient and kept working hard. I had a dream, and I knew it would pay off. And it did. By 30, I had already started and sold 2 biotech companies. But I stayed quiet about it, kept my name out of the spotlight, used shell companies, and made it look like I was just another employee. Why the secrecy? Because I'd seen how money ruined relationships. My parents always praised Ryan for having a stable job in sales. They thought my work was just a hobby. You should talk to Ryan, Mom would say. He can help you get into real business. So I let them think I needed their advice. But behind the scenes, I was buying up Dynamics, where I'd been working quietly for a year. The company was underrated but had a lot of potential. Using trusts and other business tools, I took control without anyone knowing it was me. When the board picked me as CSO, they thought I was just a smart employee. They had no idea they were giving the job to the new owner. Ryan's response? Let's just say it was satisfying. Must be nice to finally catch a break, he said at family dinner with a smug look. Hope you're ready. Leading a company is nothing like playing around with lab stuff. Mom and Dad looked worried. Maybe Ryan could mentor you, Mom chimed in helpfully. He's been managing teams for years, sweetheart. I smiled politely, suppressing a laugh. If only they knew about the acquisition papers locked away in my home safe. I'll keep that in mind, I said calmly. But Ryan wasn't content with smug comments. My promotion had upended the family pecking order. He'd always been the golden boy, the reliable one with a conventional career, while I was the quiet geek who never quite fit. The first red flag came when he began dropping by Dynamics for casual lunches with department heads. I watched from my office window as he joked with senior staff, feigning concern for his overwhelmed sister, subtly probing for any sign of weakness in my leadership. Then came the anonymous tips to HR. Accusations of falsified degrees. Rumors of inflated credentials. All of them baseless and easily disproven, but they sent a clear message: someone was trying to destroy me. I'm just worried about you, Ryan said sweetly when I confronted him. You know how it is, tech companies promote women a little too quickly these days. Got to hit those diversity numbers. I'd hate to see you crash and burn in front of everyone. I let him keep digging, curious how far he'd go. That answer arrived yesterday. Delivered in a sealed envelope to the board of directors, it contained a polished dossier filled with forged bank statements, altered emails, and a timeline painting me as a fraud. Embezzlement, insider trading, falsified reports. It was a masterclass in malicious fabrication. The board called an emergency meeting for Friday morning. Ryan must have heard through his office grapevine because at dinner last night, he was practically glowing. The board wants me present tomorrow, he announced grandly. Apparently, there's going to be a big change at the top. Mom and Dad beamed with pride, neither asking why I wasn't invited to this mysterious meeting about my own job. What they don't know is that I spent last night building a dossier of my own, every manipulation, every lie, every whisper campaign, documented in detail. And this time, I'm also revealing Dynamics' true ownership structure. Tomorrow, they'll finally find out who's really in charge. And if you think Ryan's about to get away with it, you might want to hit that subscribe button, because what happens next changes everything. I should be angry. I should be hurt that my own brother tried to annihilate my career, that my parents eagerly RSVP'd to my professional execution. But sitting here in my home office, surrounded by printouts of forged bank statements and fake email trails, I feel surprisingly calm. Ryan's scheme, twisted as it is, handed me the perfect stage. A rare chance to confront not only his betrayal, but a lifetime of being underestimated. overlooked, and dismissed. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people believe they've won, right until the moment they realize they were never in control. The board meeting is set for 9 a.m. sharp. My family will arrive thinking they're about to witness my downfall. Instead, they're about to learn why you never bet against the quiet one in the corner. Especially when she owns the table. The pieces are in place. The curtain's about to rise. And for once in my life, I'm actually looking forward to a meeting. I got to Everland Dynamics early that Friday just to catch the show. Right on cue at 8:45 a.m. Ryan strutted into the lobby in his sharpest suit. Mom and Dad trailed behind, dressed for a victory they didn't earn. "Is the board ready for us?" Ryan asked the front desk, practically humming with anticipation. His expression reminded me of the time he accidentally deleted my science project in 8th grade, the night before it was due. From my office upstairs, I watched them being escorted to the executive conference room. The board followed soon after, somber-faced and tight-lipped, exactly as instructed. Everyone had received my private message the night before. At 9 a.m., on the dot, I pushed back my chair, took a deep breath, and walked down the hall. Time to begin. Marcus Chen, our board chair, was mid-sentence as I entered. "These allegations against Ms. Tran are extremely serious." "Sorry I'm late," I said brightly, taking my seat at the table. Ryan's head jerked up, confusion flickering behind his smug grin. "Mel, this is a closed session. You weren't invited," he said sharply, glancing nervously at the directors. I folded my hands calmly. "Actually, I invited myself. It's a bit hard to hold a board meeting without the company's owner." The silence was delicious. Ryan's jaw dropped. Mom blinked rapidly. Dad looked like he'd swallowed a lemon whole. "What are you talking about?" Ryan sputtered. "Everland Dynamics is owned by shareholders. It's a public company." "Correction," I said, nodding to my assistant, Isla, who stepped forward and began distributing folders to everyone seated around the table. Everland Dynamics was a public company until 2 months ago, when it was quietly purchased by Trans Strategic Holdings. Would you like to guess who owns that? I watched as realization dawned across the boardroom. Several directors' eyes widened as they flipped through the pages. Some had speculated about the mysterious private trust behind the buyout, but no one knew the identity of the new owner, until now. "This is insane," Ryan stammered. "You can't afford, you're just a lab geek. Just a coder," I finished for him, smiling. "Yes, you've made that quite clear, over and over again." In fact, I turned to Isla. "Could you play the recordings, please?" She tapped her tablet, and the room filled with Ryan's voice, dripping with false concern. "Between us, Melissa's not leadership material," he was saying in one clip. "She's brilliant in the lab, sure, but this role? She's going to crash hard." Another recording played. "Have you noticed any irregularities in her department's finances? Might be worth a closer look." Every whisper, every manipulation, every false lead, captured and played back like a perfectly timed symphony. Ryan began to sink into his chair, color draining from his face as the room turned cold. "And then there's this," I said, holding up the envelope he'd sent the board, the same one filled with falsified statements and forged documents, attempted character assassination, fabricated financial misconduct, intentional sabotage of company leadership. Did you really think no one would verify any of this before taking action?" "I was trying to protect the company," Ryan blurted, his voice cracking. "You're not qualified. You've never been the one who succeeds, who wins. You're not the one who deserves to be here," I said quietly. "No, Ryan, I'm the one who deserves to expose you, for corporate espionage, for manipulating stock perception, for endangering the company's future with lies." Mom's voice finally broke through the silence. "Surely you wouldn't ruin your own brother's life. Like he didn't try to ruin mine?" I said, turning to her. "Like you didn't come here to watch it happen?" Dad raised a hand weakly. "We were just supporting Ryan." "No," I cut in. "You were doing what you've always done, assuming he was the one worth betting on." Then I turned back to the board. "I apologize for the theatrical nature of this meeting," I said, rising once more to face them, "but I needed everyone here to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Mr. Ryan Tran has committed multiple serious violations in his attempt to sabotage my role at this company." I paused, letting that hang in the air. "His actions have not only targeted me, they've exposed Everland Dynamics to legal and regulatory risk." Marcus Chen cleared his throat carefully. "What would you like us to do, Miss Tran?" I took my seat again, folding my hands on the table. "First, I want it on record that the board has reviewed and dismissed all allegations made against me as categorically false, based on verified documentation and internal review. Second, I request that a formal letter be sent to Ryan's employer detailing his misconduct, including the audio recordings, fabricated evidence, and attempts at corporate espionage. This behavior should follow him professionally. You can't, Ryan said, his voice cracking. You'll destroy my career. Like you tried to destroy mine? I asked, calm but sharp. The difference is, I have real documents tracing real actions you took, not the forged garbage you sent, hoping to frame me. I turned back to the board. Lastly, I want it documented that Ryan Tran, and both of our parents, are permanently banned from Everland Dynamics property. Any attempt to contact staff or interfere with operations will result in immediate legal escalation. Mel, please, Mom cried, mascara streaking down her cheeks. We're family. I let out a short, cold laugh. Family supports each other, family cheers your wins, family doesn't fake documents and spread lies just because they can't handle your success. I pulled out one final folder, my ace. This, I said, sliding it across the table, is the acquisition contract for my first biotech company. Sold it for $50 million at age 27. My second, $180 million, 2 years later. I glanced at Dad. I could have bought that golf club membership you wanted, could have paid for every luxury trip you gave to Ryan like trophies, but I didn't. They stared at the numbers that shattered every narrative they clung to. I stayed quiet because I wanted to see who would stand by me when they thought I had nothing. You all failed that test. Ryan had gone pale. You're firing me from my job, he whispered. No, I said softly. Your actions fired you, just like you tried to do to me. The only difference? You actually did what you're being accused of. I stood again, gathering the last of my documents. This board meeting is adjourned, I said clearly. Marcus, please ensure all documentation is formally filed and secured. Then I turned to them. Ryan, Mom, Dad, security will escort you out. Wait, Ryan called out, his voice cracking as I reached the door. Please, I'm sorry, I was jealous. I couldn't handle that you were finally doing better than me. His voice shook. We can fix this, can't we? We're still family. I turned back one last time. Do you know the difference between us, Ryan? He looked up, eyes glossy. When you thought I was struggling, you pushed me down further. When I was succeeding, I kept it quiet to avoid making you feel small. I exhaled. That's the difference between real success and whatever game you've been playing. The next few weeks were interesting. Ryan lost his job. His employer wasted no time once they reviewed the evidence of his sabotage. Word of my success at Everland Dynamics leaked, and suddenly, the same country club crowd that had fawned over my brother started asking about me. Mom and Dad left teary voicemails. Ryan sent handwritten apologies. Even his therapist mailed a letter explaining he was doing the work. I archived them all without replying. 3 months later, I was working late when Leela buzzed my office. There's someone here to see you, says it's personal. It was Ryan, but not the polished, cocky version I'd grown up with. He looked thinner, older, hair shorter, no flashy watch, no tailored blazer, just a plain button-down and a manila envelope. I'm not staying, he said quickly, raising a hand. I just need to say something. He stepped forward, placing the envelope on my desk. This has everything, passwords, contacts, info I dug up while trying to sabotage you. I'm also sending a letter to the board and my former employer, owning everything, no excuses. I watched him silently. Why now? I finally asked. Because you were right, he said. I wasn't building anything real. You did, and I hated you for it. He turned to leave, then hesitated. I'm starting over, small startup, entry level, no shortcuts this time. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that letting me fail taught me more than our parents ever did by helping me cheat. He reached the door. Ryan, I called softly. He turned back, hope in his eyes. Send me your resume in a year, not for a leadership role, I said gently, but if you're serious about earning things the right way, we're always looking for people willing to work their way up. A single tear slipped down Ryan's cheek, but he gave a small nod, collected himself, and left without another word. 6 months later, Everland Dynamics is doing even better than I hoped. We're creating powerful new biotech tools, growing fast, and bringing hundreds of jobs to the Pacific Northwest. It's something real, something that matters. My parents still message me now and then, usually when they want something or when they're bragging about their daughter being a CEO. I keep things polite but distant. The approval I used to want so badly, I don't need it anymore. The corner office they said I'd never earn now gives me a perfect view of Seattle. Some nights, I sit by the window and watch the sun go down behind the mountains. I think about family, dreams, and how powerful it can be to be underestimated. Last week, Ryan sent me a holiday card. No guilt, no favors, just a short, quiet message. You succeeded not because of us, but despite us. I'm learning to do the same. And maybe that's the real win, not flashy revenge, but quiet success, real, earned, impossible to ignore. Thank you for reading my story, for seeing me when so many people I loved didn't. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed quiet, fought back sooner? Or maybe you've lived something like this, been the quiet one, the one people doubted, the one building in the shadows while others got the credit. I want this space to be more than just my story. Let it remind you, you don't need applause to prove your worth. Sometimes, being steady and strong in silence is the most powerful thing you can do. And if you're still on your journey, working late nights, being overlooked, don't stop. Keep going. Let your success be louder than your struggle. Support me by liking, sharing, and subscribing, not just to follow my next chapter, but to write your own. Because here's what I've learned. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were right to believe in you. So, what's your story? I'm listening, and I hope the world is, too. It's your time to be seen.